Imagine your child from a young age confidently making smart money choices because they've had frequent hands-on opportunities to practice within the safe context of your home. What if teaching financial wisdom wasn't about lectures, but about engaging everyday experiences? My name is Stephanie Lennon. I'm the author of Family Bank Blueprint and a financial educator. I know this is entirely possible because my family has lived it. Let's be honest, many of us secretly dread the boomerang kid scenario. You know, your bright, capable child hitting their mid-20s and struggling to launch financially. Maybe back in their childhood bedroom, quietly or not so quietly, chipping away at your retirement savings. It's a valid fear, especially when you've worked so hard to give them every advantage. We teach our kids calculus, history, literature, but often the most critical skill, effective money management, is lacking. Today, we'll explore practical strategies to go beyond the piggy bank, empowering your children with the grit, skills, and confidence to build their own independent, prosperous future. It's the invaluable gift of financial independence, all without requiring significant new spending from you. You'll gain peace of mind knowing that they're fully ready to launch. So let's start with a critical mindset shift. Say that 3 times fast. For too long, the traditional advice has been give your kids an allowance and teach them to save. And while that's a start, it's not enough, especially for children who may not actually have to feel the immediate need to work for every dollar. It misses the bigger picture. My own children, when they were younger, had a major disconnect. My 7-year-old, we'll call him Little Man, he came to me as I was rushing to get out the door to go to work one day. He's like, Mommy, why do you have to go to work? When can you retire? Because we talked about retirement. I was in my 40s at the time. So I got down, I bent down at his level, and we looked eye to eye, and I said, Little Man, I have to work so that we can earn money. And that's how we pay for our house and food and electricity and going on vacation. I have to earn money. And he looks at me, he was so confused. He's like, but Mommy, you have credit cards to pay for all that. And in that moment, it hit me like, he's 7. Of course, he doesn't understand. But, you know, he truly believed that credit cards were an infinite supply of funds. And, you know, this wasn't about his understanding of money or that of his sisters, but our failure to teach them what money truly is and where it comes from. So that brings me to my core insight. Money isn't just about simple transactions where you get it, you earn it, you spend it, you save it. It's a powerful tool. And it's a tool for achieving your goals and expressing your values and ultimately building that independence to live the life you dream of. We need to shift the conversation in our homes from don't spend it all, which is not a bad conversation, but to a much more of an empowering question of what are your dollars doing for you? The philosophy underpins everything I teach. Practice builds proficiency. Think about it. How do your kids learn to ride a bike? It's not by watching YouTube or TikTok or just listening to their friends talk about it. They have to get on the bike and they have to fall over and skin a knee or, whatever, and try again. I still remember when I learned, I was 7 years old. We had this pine tree to the side of the yard, and I hopped on that bike. I went careening across the grass, crashed into this pine tree, but I figured it out on the next run. I'm like, okay, get these pedals going. And I learned it not because someone told me to do it, but because I did it. Learning how to work with money, it's the same thing. Children must be given age-appropriate, everyday opportunities to make their own money decisions and build this money muscle. Here's a critical truth. The value of early mistakes is immense. Me crashing into that pine tree helped me learn how to ride a bike. And so learning from small financial missteps early on with 10s and 20s is profoundly beneficial. These small failures, and I'm using air quotey fingers for failures, they build resistance, they teach problem solving, and develop that crucial financial muscle memory. It's far better than facing costly mistakes as an adult with hundreds and thousands of dollars on the line and no idea of how to fix it. We want them to develop a prosperity mindset, not a scarcity mindset. And part of that is when you run into financial failure, hopefully on the small scale as a kid, you figure out, first of all, A, you can change this. It's not a permanent situation. And B, you learn how to problem solve. You learn it's not permanent and that you can do something about it. So that's a really important lesson to learn, and the earlier the better, money or otherwise. But we'll talk money for today. So this is why I advocate creating a household microeconomy. Think of your house as a safe living finance lab, And it's a unique framework where your children can gain structured, practical experience with money, making real spending decisions and experiencing the consequences, positive and not so positive, about like what's going on. And that's all generally without impacting your household budget. And that's part of why this system works. This isn't about giving them more money. It's about giving them more control over the money that you've already like planned to spend on them. So it's net neutral budget wise for you. And that's important. So let's talk about this idea of like empowering control and repurposing your existing budget in a real world involvement. So, how do we put this into practice? It starts with my core mantra here, which is the most actionable step you can take today. Write this down. Give your children the opportunity to control more of the money that you were already budgeting to spend on them. I'm going to say that again. Please write this down. Give your children the opportunity to control more of the money that you've already budgeted to spend on them. What does this look like? We're not talking about increasing your spending. We're not. We're talking about repurposing what you already allocate for them. Think about it. Like, where are you already spending money on your kids? Is it, clothes, toys, entertainment, snacks, school supplies, even portions of extracurriculars? Any of these things are fair game. Like, they're all potential areas to experiment with. The shift is simple. Instead of you buying everything for them, you give them the budget for it with clear parental guardrails on their spending decisions. For example, let's use clothing as an example here. Distressed styles come in and out of fashion. Do you have any rules on holes or tears in the fabric? What about limits on how low or high necklines can or need to be, or hemlines should be, or if undergarments or midriffs can be seen with what your kids are wearing? What about restrictions on graphics or words, on graphic tees? Like, are there any things that are just ixnay in your house? Think about what those parental guardrails might be. Lay out the rules and then tell your kids, like, hey, here's your budget. You must have, I don't know, 5 or 10 tops and 4 or 6 bottoms, and you have to have a pair of shoes. And other than that, here are your guardrails. Go. Use your budget. Buy what makes you happy. As long as it fits in within all of what we just said, like, go for it. And here's the thing, by the way, when you set those rules and then your kids follow them, live with the consequences. And this can be hard sometimes for parents because you're like, oh, why are they wearing that? Or why did they buy that? Or why are they spending on this? But like, bite your tongue. Let them practice. Let them. And they're living with their own consequences, whatever they might be. So, here's your budget. Here's $300, whether that's per month, per quarter, per year, per week, like whatever your budget is for clothes or for whatever the situation is. Give them their budget and give them the rules and go. But once that money is gone, like, it's gone. Like, do not give them more money. Let them live with those consequences until the next budget cycle. That's the real world, and they get to practice hands-on. Part of what this does is it creates skin in the game. And you've heard the terminology before, but basically, because they have now a vested interest in the outcome, they're going to make different decisions. And when they're using their allocated budget, they learn prioritization, they learn opportunity cost. They have to figure out, all right, well, like, how far can I make my money go, and what are the different ways that I can spend it? Am I going to buy that one really amazing super branded thing and everything else is coming from Goodwill or the thrift store, or maybe buy nothing or a hand-me-down? Okay, maybe they live in all of last season's clothing. They've got the hoodie they love, they've got the kicks that they love, and otherwise they're totally chill with whatever else. As long as it fits within your guardrails, let them. That's what's really cool about this, is you're giving your kids the power to make the decisions about the things they care most about within the guardrails that you've set. And it's real world experience. One of my daughters had this, she desperately wanted a very, very trendy, expensive t-shirt. And she had the funds in her closing budget. After looking at the price, she started thinking about, hey, if I buy this, then what can I not buy? And am I going to have enough money to buy the other, I have to have a total of, I don't know, 5 shirts or whatever. And am I going to have enough? I don't know. I kind of like these other ones, and I'd rather have 3 of those instead of 1 of these. And ultimately, she decided she wasn't going to get that one t-shirt that she really loved because the rest of the situation didn't make sense for her. And that was her choice. And so it's a lesson learned through experience, not a lecture. And that's what this teaches. Beyond their personal budgets, it's vital. Don't shield your kids from household financial realities. If there's something really scary, obviously make it an age-appropriate discussion, but I do encourage you, the more that you are able and willing to share what you're really thinking and what's really going on, and even better, solicit input, the better. For example, do they know how much money you guys earn on a weekly, monthly basis? And from there, where does all the money go? What is the allocation for the discretionary versus non-discretionary? How much is your housing cost for rent or for the mortgage? Do you have property taxes, or do you have, some kind of car payment? What about utilities? So help them understand that every month we have to pay this much money for these things. This is non-negotiable. But let's look at the food budget. We need to get some amount of groceries for however big the family is, and we have some eating out money. Great. There's another example where the kids can get involved. Have the conversation about, would they rather go out once a week at maybe a mid-level place? Would they rather go out twice a week at maybe a less expensive, maybe chain restaurant or fast food? Or would they rather maybe go out only once a month, but to that really shishi steakhouse that everyone loves? And what's important to them? Have that conversation. It's a values discussion as a family where you can explain to them and just show them the math to say, this is what it typically costs when we go to restaurant A versus restaurant B versus restaurant C versus eating in. And maybe they'll actually decide that they'd rather eat in and get the extra ice cream as opposed to going out. It's all about choices. It's the choices you and I make every time we go to the grocery store or when we look at the monthly budget. Help them be a part of that and weigh in on what they care about. It matters. They are learning with every conversation and every opportunity to weigh in and live with the consequences. Household budgets are a really fun way to have that conversation. Part of what this also does, like I said earlier, it continues to reinforce the idea of prioritization and trade-offs and the reality that money's not infinite, even for adults. So yes, money's not infinite, but you can certainly affect how much money you have to play with. Now we start to talk about the idea of managing the money that they're given, but also how to cultivate their ability to earn and strategically save. It goes beyond just chores. While household contributions are essential for building life skills and a sense of responsibility, and I do encourage paying some kind of a stipend or an allowance to go with that. That's not really where kids are going to learn about the true value creation in entrepreneurship. That's where the active income opportunities come in, and this is how we like to nurture kidpreneurship. Kids, entrepreneurship, kidpreneurship. Encourage your children to identify problems that they can solve or value that they can add or create, whether it's inside or outside of the house. It could be, for compensation. And so it could be anything from babysitting, pet care, lawn care, making crafts, selling crafts, whether it's goods or services, kids can add value and do some pretty cool things. So one of the things that we've experienced in my household, my oldest daughter has had a neighborhood pet care business for the last 6 years. She started when she was 9. And it started out with just walking dogs and feeding guinea pigs and feeding the fish, that kind of a thing. It has grown over time to also now, she just started literally today her first overnight engagement where she's only 15, so I will stay with her on the overnight portion for safety purposes. But otherwise, she's at this neighbor's house for 21 to 22 hours a day, and they're paying her well for it. That's pretty cool for, someone 15 to be able to earn quite a bit of money doing things that she loves. So it's not just about feeding the fish. It's also about learning how to manage clients, how to solicit new clients and ask for word of mouth, for referrals. She's doing a little bit of marketing. She has business cards, like the whole 9 yards. It's also about managing scheduling. And at one point, I think it was, might have been spring break, she had 5 different jobs. And it was really a juggle to try to figure out how to get all the dogs walked all at the same time. And at one point, she even outsourced one of the jobs to a younger sibling. So it is about understanding profit. It's understanding how to engage with potential patrons and to put your value out into the world early. Coming out of that, she has a business bank account. She's actually formed her own LLC. She pays taxes. And now because she has earned income, she's also started investing in a Roth IRA, which is pretty good for a 15-year-old. She has the advantage of time on her side, and even small amounts invested now, when it comes time to pull it out, that's going to be a pretty impressive number. The key thing is to demonstrate the linkage between effort and reward. And the more they understand that, the better off they'll be. Which then goes to an interesting concept. I mentioned that my daughter pays taxes. The way that we've structured it in our household is that all of our kids get taxed. What does that mean? Well, we've introduced the concept of the tax man. In our first lending bank, we have a 50% tax rate. Tax rate. Yeah, we implement 50% tax on earnings. Feels like a lot. But if you look at your most recent pay stub and you add up all the deductions between healthcare, vision, dental, disability insurance, 401k, maybe an HSA, any of that kind of stuff, it adds up pretty close to 50%. So it's not that far out of reach. And what this teaches is a few things. First of all, is that your earning power is not the same as your actual spending purchasing power. That's a big lesson, and it's an important one to learn because that's real life. And so if you negotiate, I don't know, an $80,000, $100,000 salary, don't start spending $80,000 to $100,000 in your head before you start work. Spend maybe half at best because all of the taxes and deductions are coming rapidly. So we implement that 50% tax rate. Now I'm using air quotey fingers on tax rate because all of my kids are below the minimum threshold. So they're not really paying it to the IRS, but what we do is we invest that. And at first it went into savings account, interest-bearing savings account. But once each one of I have 3 kids. So as soon as each one of the 3 kids hit their $3,000 minimum investment, we were able to open up Vanguard accounts for them. And the Vanguard accounts, they're just index funds. The total stock market index is one of my favorites. I like Vanguard 500. I like the total index, the international index. You do you. But for me, the index funds make so much sense. And the kids are now also learning about passive income on this money that's been set aside for them pretty much for as long as they can remember. It's little bits. It's half of all of their allowance, and then it's half of anything else they earn, whether it's this pet care business. My son, his Boy Scout troop does mulch delivery, and the customers, if they want to, they can pay the scouts independently for mulch spreading services, and sometimes they tip really nicely. So that's all earned income, and we tax half of all of it. Do the kids love it? No. They get kind of salty when they see like, oh, I just earned, $100 off of this thing. I'm like, yeah, you earned 50. And it's still a fight sometimes, and there's a lot of grumbling, but it's important. And then we go look at what those Vanguard accounts are doing. They're like, okay, when do I get this? And it's like, well, you're going to get it after you've graduated and when you go to your next adventure. So if you're going to college, if you are starting a business, I don't know what happens next. And it's really cool to be able to have that conversation about, yes, you're saving half of your money, and yes, this is where it's going, and yes, you will have access to it, but not yet. So they can't touch that. They can watch it grow and they can watch it appreciate, but they cannot touch it until they are at least 18. And of course, if there's any reason that we feel like it might be harmful for the kids to have a chunk of change at that age, we titled it in our own names just to keep the flexibility and the optionality of, if we think it would harm our child to give them a big chunk of change at that age, then we will hold it until they are ready for it. As you can see, the long-term vision is powerful. By building these habits early, understanding money as a tool, practicing constrained decision-making, your children can build significant financial understanding and even personal net worth before they graduate high school. So whether this will help them afford college, put a down payment on a condo or a house, or fund a startup or support some other kind of a dream, that's up to them. This idea is to set them up on an incredibly strong path for lifelong financial independence. So we've seen in this conversation that raising financially independent kids doesn't require complex lectures or a new budget. Instead, it's about providing frequent hands-on opportunities for them to practice within the safe context of your house, which is a profound gift that builds grit, skills, and confidence for life. I want you to leave this conversation feeling inspired and motivated to take action. So here's your clear, immediate next step. Write this down. Identify just one area where you're already spending money on your kids' behalf. Again, it could be clothes, it could be hobbies, it could be sports, it could be school supplies, it could be school lunches, it could be anything. Whatever you're, pick a place. Just one to start. And figure out how much are you already spending, decide if there are any specific guardrails, give them the rules of the game, give them the budget, and go. And then sit back and watch and bite your tongue if you're like, no, don't do that, don't do this. Like, let them play the game by the rules that you've set and see what happens. They're going to love it. Like, our kids found so much freedom by being able to control this. So I'm sure that you will too. So let your child take the reins on whatever that one budget is in that one instance. It doesn't mean that you have to give them that every single week of every year, but just try and experiment with this idea. It's that simple, powerful shift that is going to kickstart their hands-on financial learning. With that, that wraps up this particular conversation. For the full step-by-step framework that details how to implement this system from age 5 and up, which is when we started, our youngest was 5, complete with our family's real stories and some kid interviews, please check out my book, Family Bank Blueprint. It's available on Amazon. I will put the purchase link down in the notes below. So please take a look. I would love your taking a look at it. I would love your feedback. It's available on Amazon. Otherwise, please like and follow here on YouTube, as well as any of the other social media platforms. I'll also put my information in the notes of how to find me. If you found this valuable and interesting, I would really, truly appreciate it if you would like the video so that others might see it too, and subscribe so you can get the next version. Thank you so much.